When I was 11 years old, I had the opportunity to travel to Kingston, Jamaica with members of my youth orchestra and raise money and perform for the Missionaries of the Poor. It's an organization that raises money and houses and takes care of some of the most infirmed and impoverished members of the Jamaican community. As an 11-year-old at the time, it was the first time I had extensively traveled out of the country, and I had found that I took certain creature comforts for granted, having grown up in a first world country. It was also the first time I really experienced music as altruism and the power of music as a form of doing good for others. And through that, having that be a first step, that is creating music as well as being organized enough to raise money for them in order for them to gain access to important things like medical equipment and food and clothing. A really influential part of my development at the Eastman School of Music was introduction to Paul Odette's Baroque performance practice class. It has paved the way toward the career I'm on now, which is a specialization in historical instruments and historical performance of those instruments. It was only through more exploration of Baroque performance practice that I learned more about the different materials used and the approach to coaxing sound out of the instrument that's a little bit different than how we approach it today, and the music just suddenly made so much more sense and just came alive. After about 3.5 years of undergraduate studies and trying to sort of pave my own path and finding my own personality through playing and not just becoming a carbon copy of this or that professor, I had a renewed sense of excitement in approaching a lot of the repertoire and really all repertoire just makes you rethink, what edition am I playing off of? What can I strip away to really get at the heart of the music and of the composer's intentions? And it has just been so influential in how I approach music and the care with which I make all kinds of musical decisions. I had a really interesting few months a couple years ago working on Broadway with actors from Shakespeare's Globe. We performed the play Farinelli and the King over 100 times, I would say something like 130 times, and working so intimately with such talented actors and hearing the really subtle nuance of timing and inflection of a word that could just transform a whole script night to night without one particular path that's correct, but keeping it fresh and genuine and playing off of the energy of a 1,000-piece audience in order to feel out what timing is best that particular evening, and improvising with the audience based on sounds that you hear, or a women's march going by and incorporating it into the script. It was just so interesting to work intimately with someone with a craft that's somewhat similar to ours, musically, but is a different kind of artist, and I could bring that sort of care and nuance to notes in the same way that they treated words, and have such a clarity of meaning and so much variety to be able to play the same piece over 100 times in different ways that are thought out and make sense, and one decision leads to another in a very organic way that will really transform the audience.